Our next speaker is very important to us here in Sussex County because many of us live in free America, even though this is New Jersey. We get to take our kids fishing. We get to take our kids hunting. We get to teach them to zero a rifle in the backyard and shoot a bow and arrow. We get to see bears, bobcats, foxes, and we have an entire wilderness up on a ridge that we could just run amok in and live like Americans. It's a very happy place. Some government overreach is trying to end all that. We have someone who's standing against it. I'd like you all to hear Miss Sandy Hull.
This is a bit of a departure from what you all have been hearing tonight. And I really am sort of a fish out of water because this is not just about your parental rights, it's also about your rights as landowners and as citizens here in Sussex County and in the state of New Jersey. There's currently a proposal backed by the Sierra Club of New Jersey and the Sierra Club of Pennsylvania, written by John Donahue, the former park superintendent from the Delaware Water Gap National Recreation Area, to have that recreation area redesignated as a national park. So in theory, it sounds great. So you've got a national park and it's backed by the Sierra Club. Isn't that just swell hunky-dory? Let's go ahead and pass it and put it into legislation. That's what we're afraid is going to happen. That legislation is going to take over here before we have certain questions answered, certain issues addressed, like the economic impact on our local businesses, the environmental impact on the Delaware Water Gap National Recreation Area, and the agricultural impact for farmers up here who've been farming in a tradition of over 2,000 years. So the big question is, why is this happening? If you take a look at this proposal written by John Donahue, the former park superintendent, it's on our website, which is nonationalpark.org. Very easy to remember. When you read this proposal, you can't look at it and just say, gee, isn't this great? He promises economic prosperity. He's working with the Ramapo up here to have a Lenape Preserve and agricultural center. You have to look between the lines and ask all the hard questions. The who, what, why, when, and how. And the biggest question is, as a child of the 60s, growing up after the Vietnam era, as you know, back when we were all hippies, sort of, why is this happening? Who's going to benefit? There's always a money trail, and we just can't find it. Now, I have been trying to get a meeting with the Pennsylvania Sierra Club and the New Jersey Sierra Club for a year and a half, and I have been stonewalled. Journalists have tried to get meetings with them also, and they have been stonewalled because they don't want to talk about it. So the big question is, what are they hiding, and who's going to benefit from this? If this national park designation goes through, only 15% of the 74,000 acres in the Delaware Water Gap Recreation Area will be national park. The other 85% is going to be a preserve. A national preserve allows for resource extraction, which is not fracking, but it's mining for different kinds of minerals, gas, and oil exploration. When John Donahue was superintendent of Big Thicket, or the Big Cypress rather, in Florida, he made a deal with an oil company to come into that national preserve and do oil drilling. The other thing that we're concerned about is that if it does become a national park, as John Donahue said back in 2011, it will probably end up being annexed to Stokes State Forest, High Point State Park, Worthington State Forest. Over in Pennsylvania, you're looking at 20,000 acres at the Delaware State Game Lands. And what does that mean? It means you're going to have one huge contiguous national park. All of this will be under the auspices of the National Park Service. But it doesn't stop there, because if this goal of a 274,000 acre recreational wild corridor is achieved, there are certain private properties that's going to be linking those parks together. And who owns that property? We own that property. The New Jersey Sierra Club, thanks to our efforts, finally backed off and rescinded their support of this proposal back in January of this year. But in their statement of rescinding support, they said, but we're going to form a committee to look at protections for the recreation area and surrounding communities. Now, I live in Sandyston Township, which is already 70% state and federally owned, thanks to High Point, Stokes, and the Tox Island Dam project, that horrible, horrible land grab from like 60 years ago. If that's going to happen, those private properties will probably be approached, those landowners will be approached to sell their property to the government. In the proposal, John Donahue says, but we're only going to take property from willing sellers. So, as a veteran of the Tox Island Dam project, yes, this is what a willing seller is. The government knocks on your door and says, howdy, we love your place, we're going to give you this amount of money for it. And the minute you take that offer, the minute you take that paper, you are a willing seller. And if you don't take their offer, if they run true to course, then they're going to drag your ass down to Newark for a jury of your peers to try and determine the true value for your property. So again, I'm living in a township that's 70% state and federally owned, as is Montague Township. So when the New Jersey Sierra Club came out with this statement of rescinding support, I went to Sanderson Township, Montague Township, I went to Sussex County Commissioners and Warren County Commissioners and said to them, this is what these people want to do. The Sierra Club wants to come in here now and put together a committee to decide what's best for your community. So, if that's going to happen, you need to demand that you have to be a part of those discussions, of those plans, before you give the Sierra Club the opportunity to come in here and start throwing off regulations, maybe even getting a back door to continue to support this proposal. Right now, I'm still being stonewalled by the Pennsylvania Sierra Club, the Appalachian Mountain Club, Penn Environment in Penn, New Jersey, the New Jersey Highlands Coalition, I'm a member of that organization, does not support our efforts to defeat the proposal because John Donahue is their vice president, and they're sure as hell not going to go against him. So now the question is, what do we do and how do we get this thing stopped? I have the support across the aisle of congressional leaders in New Jersey and Pennsylvania, state representatives locally in Pike, Monroe, and Pennsylvania, Sussex and Warren counties in New Jersey. So this is what all these people need to do, and each one of you can do. You're going to speak up for your parental rights, speak up for your rights as landowners, and keep the Sierra Club out of your business and out of your community. Let your legislators know that you support their work and supporting our efforts to defeat the proposal. There's currently a state resolution still in committee, I'm sorry to say, I wish it would move forward, SR 98, that condemns this proposal and thinks the state of New Jersey should take a strong stand against it. Well, knocking on the governor's door is like knocking on a coffin because nobody's going to answer it. Sorry, but yeah, that's just the way it is. So I won't take up any more of your time. I want to thank you for this opportunity to bring this issue to your light, because nothing is safe here, nothing is sacred. If this becomes a national park, you're going to have a land grab, another federal land grab, much like you had in the Tox Island Dam area. And I don't know if any of you are veterans of Tox Island. It was a nightmare where the government moved over 18,000 families out of this. They lost their homes, they lost their way of life. If the Sierra Club is allowed to come in here and have a foothold in our communities along the Delaware River, Sussex and Warren counties, Pike and Monroe in Pennsylvania, you can pretty much kiss our way of life goodbye. So thank you again for the opportunity, and thank you for your support.